I'm originally a University of Waterloo software engineering graduate, which was like a lifetime ago. I moved from a career in mostly graphics and real-time programming into brewing and brought with it, that skill set and imposed it on a totally different domain. But I'm still a developer at heart. I have a lot of side projects on the go at any given time. I do a lot of blinky LED art things, but in the last year, a lot of my focus has been on machine learning and artificial intelligence, and doing some consulting and contracting work on the side. So I think that is pretty relevant to a conference about future computing. So I'd like to start by just talking about some of those side projects. So this is the first one. It's called Omnivox. And basically the idea was to create a volumetric display. This was a pandemic project that both my partner, Sarah, and I worked on and spent a considerable amount of time on. To create a volumetric display, there are a lot of potentially different ways to do it, but we ended up using 4,096 individually addressable LEDs, all hand soldered onto custom-made circuit boards, which was, in retrospect, probably a terrible idea because it took a really long time. But it was all custom designed, wiring, power infrastructure, everything, all built in-house, so to speak. Basically, it uses, two microcontrollers, two teensies, if anybody's familiar with that, but to drive LEDs over like a really fast serial connection, all JavaScript node server with two web clients. One's a visualizer, the other's a controller. Very classic, design there, engineering there. There's all the rendering, everything's done on the server. You can sort of see one of the audio-visual routines here. All the actual rendering is done actually using the GPU on a laptop. And it renders at like 40 frames per second plus for like super fluid, nice animations. And yeah, we've brought it to the brewery at nighttime to show off, and bringing it to like local regional burn events and festivals, stuff like that. Oh yeah, it does voxel ray tracing as well, stuff like that. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is another project. This is my foray into machine learning. Basically trying to get a Doom agent to beat levels using only information that any typical human being would have access to, i.e. the pixels on the screen, and like basic health, armor, ammo information. This is based heavily on the work that DeepMind did using their Atari agents to beat like Breakout and things like that. This is in training, so it is just, I'm not touching anything, I swear. This is all just an agent doing all this, using a combination of convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and reinforcement learning, specifically proximal policy optimization. There are like 16 plus agents going at the same time, all on my modest RTX 3080 GPU at home. And yeah, it can beat most of the early levels in Doom and Doom 2. But it has a lot of trouble with levels where the keys are very far apart from the doors that they open. I blame that on LSTMs. So this is my tangential fever dream stream of consciousness slide. I need to be careful here not to talk to any particular point because you could literally spend hours on any of them. But I spend a lot of my spare time reading machine learning white papers on a broad range of topics, among those listed, many others. I especially love it when a paper comes with a relevant GitHub repo where I can bring down the results into my editor and start reproducing them and then hacking them to bits. I think this is a field that's moving faster than any field in the history of humanity. and second order speeds of change or acceleration. I really worry about the future of this stuff as well with respect to our unpreparedness for it. I don't think the technology is ever to blame, but it is, the crash space of our evolution and how we, our building technologies we're not prepared for, basically. And then, that's Rule 30, in case anybody knows what that is, but that's Stephen Wolfram. Basically, the idea that these simple ordered rules can give rise to these incredibly chaotic systems and computational irreducibility. It's a cellular automata, essentially. In any case, this is the sort of stuff that's on my mind these days, and if you relate to this slide in any way, please come seek me out at the conference and we'll chat about any and all of these things. I love them all. So yes, I'm also a brewer. Those projects are all things that occupy my mind space when I have downtime at the brewery. But we're a tiny tap room. We produce like less than 1,000 hectoliters of beer a year. We are close by. We're about a 15 to 20 minute walk from Paradise Theater. I love playing around with experimental styles, but we've also got a lot of mainstay styles. We've got pale ales, IPAs. Our specialties, I think if you talk to people in Toronto who know about us, are sours. But we do a whole wide range of things. Another important note here is that we're open source in the sense that I publish all of our recipes online under a Creative Commons license, and they're all freely available for home brewers or whoever to take a look and implement and learn from, because that's how I learned. Now I want to talk about Softmax, which is the beer that we collaborated with Causal Islands. So a couple months ago, I got an email from Chris Benson, and he's one of the organizers, and asking if Halo would like to do a collab for the conference, and things evolved from there. Boris came in, and we talked, and high-level details arose of overall style, ABV, preferential hops, and from that, I went and brewed and developed the recipe. The name, Softmax, I thought was topical, given, it's the crucial nonlinearity used to form a tension in transformers, and a pinnacle of future technology these days, but also just a cool beer name. So, and then the label was developed by my partner, Sarah. She's also, my partner in crime, who runs Halo social media and puts together a lot of the designs for us. I had some input. And then, I also used DALL-E a bit to explore the space a bit beforehand. But yeah. Just in terms of characteristics, what you can expect from Softmax: sessionable, juicy, soft, hazy, going for the very East Coast kind of direction of a pale ale. It's 5% ABV, so, you can have a few of them. And then the hops, very just nice, juicy, is like strawberry, gooseberry are the kind of the big ones. And that comes from the Galaxy and Nelson. You can see the full recipe on halobrewery.com. And really, so many thanks to Causal Islands for supporting a small local business. We really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Have you experimented with some of the open source language models out there like Llama, and are you excited by the whole thing?
Oh, man. No, I have not experimented with Llama. I have, there's a lot to say here. With language models, I find we're in such an early days kind of outlook there, and you know, I just don't. I'm personally more interested in like actually understanding intelligence, and I feel like everybody's gone down a bit of a or off a tangent here with large language models and the hype around them. I think language plays an incredibly important role in intelligence, or in at least in human intelligence. But like I think like we can't get too distracted by the language models. I think like we're burning energy on these things like on a daily basis. Why? They're so inefficient. Like why aren't we considering spiking neural networks and the hardware associated with those things? I can say a lot of things about this. I probably shouldn't up here. Like probably in person is better. But yeah, I haven't not is the short answer.
All right, we'll do one more.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm noticing that as open source software is, eating software for a while now, there's also been slow movement of open source into non-software things. Like you talk about an open source brewery, right? And
Yeah.
I'm also seeing there's like open source medical devices and all these other places that hasn't really penetrated as far, but it can exist. Do you think that's like a good direction for that stuff to go? Is like how much potential are there in those non-software spaces for the kind of open source ethos and vibe to spread and grow in that direction?
I think tons. Like that's the short answer. But like I think like using the term open source I've only used it because I come from a background in software engineering, but like the idea is more like this, is like a Creative Commons, right? Like I learned all I knew about brewing from going on forums where people were nice enough to share their information with me. So I share it back. And, like, I don't like the idea of like whipping somebody for not resharing information, but also at the same time, like being a courteous human being and realizing and having the humility that, you got your information from something, and all creative endeavors come from other previous creative endeavors. Like there is this culmination of information in our society and the things we think about. Like, I think it's only reasonable to consider that. Yeah.
So one of the things we talked about this morning with Callum is if you look on the website, you need to look at it on desktop, not on mobile. You'll see that this is iteration 1 of Softmax, and it has a Creative Commons license on it. So then I said, well, if we do Causal Islands again, which won't be in Toronto, we have a few other things coming up. And we've talked about the logistics of like, it's actually really complicated and regulatory to ship the physical product, and it doesn't support a local small business. But what if we took the license and had Callum collaborate with brewers in India or Istanbul, where we're having some next location? What does it mean to have the information travel, but then actually use your local thing? So I think like, it's an excellent question. It's an excellent answer. So one of the themes that I think that we have here is collectivism, governance, and this additional kind of like, I think of a lot of the stuff with edge computing and some of these other things like that are almost like a buy local movement, right? Information is easy and low cost to transfer. How do you collect together to collect demand and capital to build things that benefit us all?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Callum.